Ah, that's no wonder there's no sound. My mic has been on mute. Okay, I can now hear myself. So we will go through the grid once again. Apologies for the delay. Thank you. Thank you, Black Country. So let's start the whole intro again from where we were. I could end the stream and start it again, but that would take too long. Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to the third round of the Gavra Racing GT7 Championship here at Brands Hatch, located in the beautiful United Kingdom. I'm not going to waste any more time. Apologies for the delay in the stream and to the delay for the intro for my mishaps in qualifying. It's because I always turn my mic on mute when I turn my PlayStation on, just in case I record anything. Don't want my background noise being heard. Anyway, let's go through the grid for today's race. 16 drivers line up on the grid. One of them, Play Dutchy, starting this race on pole position in his bright orange Porsche. He set a 1 minute 22.7 in qualifying. 3 cars behind him also setting a 1 minute 22.7. One of them being Bon Evil, championship leader, joining Dutchy on the front row of the grid in second place for the Alfa Romeo team. Behind him, Piero in third place, also with a 1 minute 22.7, starts in third in his McLaren. Alongside him, Dan Schneider, only 1,000th behind Piero in qualifying, 500th off pole position. 0.057 seconds was the gap separating the top 4. Incredibly close qualifying. Actually, well, the car behind them, Cameron Kaboom, only 800ths off pole position, starts this race in 5th place. Toussaint is the leading BCR car in 6th place with a special livery on that Mercedes for this race, and alongside him is his teammate starting in 7th place with a 1 minute 23.2. X-Natty G, myself, with another special livery on the grid in McLaren, 5/10 off pole position, starting in 8th place. We head down to the BWT Mercedes. The Doctor starts in 9th place. And alongside him, Wiggly Style, rounding out the top 10. Starting in the last points paying position, Fett in the yellow and green Porsche starts in 11th alongside the Scout Dan in his Coca-Cola Ferrari in 12th place. Wolfie starts this race in 13th place, putting 11 cars in between him and the other Alfa Romeo on the grid. Aston F1 in the Golf 4 GT starts alongside him in 14th place. It's currently an Irish sandwich because he's got Ted behind him in 15th place. And Black Country Mush, with a qualifying ban for this race following the race from Sardinia, starts in 16th place. And those are the 16 cars that will try their best to score as many points as possible at the end of this race. Well, we've already had about half a week's worth of delay, plus the first 2 minutes of the intro due to my mic being on mute. I hope the audio is all good, but let's get into this race. It will be a good one. Here we go then, the lights are counting down for the Brands Hatch, the British Grand Prix, round number 3, and it lights out. And away we go. A slow start from Dutchy in the Porsche, gets immediately overtaken by Bon Evil. Piero just tucking in behind of the Porsche for now. Cameron Kaboom and Dan Schneider trying to work their way down the inside of Toussaint, going in towards the first corner, who's been overtaken, though he hasn't, as a contact between Cameron Kaboom and Piero as Piero goes off into the gravel, drops down to the back of the grid in 13th place. Meanwhile, Natty and the Doctor side by side as Dan gets a little nudge from behind. Dan Schneider and Tiger Assassin going wheel to wheel before the Porsche gets ahead of the BWT Porsche. Dan trying to go right round the outside, Wolfie to the inside of the Doctor, down and towards turn 4. Before going onto the back straight, but I believe all cars have made it through cleanly. No, they haven't, because Fett's facing backwards in the wall. I was going to say all cars making it through cleanly, apart from Piero, who had his off at turn 2, but Fett being another driver who hasn't quite survived lap 1. Has contact between Tiger and Cameron Kaboom, who we've seen 3 crashes on the opening lap as the Lexus struggling to rejoin the circuit safely, trembling at 25 miles per hour in the gravel, rejoins the track in 15th place, but after a long stewards review between that incident, Lag was the influencing factor in that incident. Nothing Tiger Assassin could do. Unfortunately, the servers are quite unstable as we are currently, or at the current time of recording. Someone who's going to be quite unstable is Tiger Assassin, is under pressure from Dan Schneider heading in towards turn 1. But the Brits are managing to stay ahead. We've currently got a British driver leading the British Grand Prix, albeit by maybe a tenth or two. We've got a move, Natty trying to go down the inside of the Scout down, but it's gone too deep, too wide, and he might lose another position to the Doctor, who forces him onto the outside curve in towards turn 3 with Natty on the inside. The Scout down using a lot of the outside track, including a bit of the gravel. It looks like the McLaren's going to try and get ahead of the Mercedes, the British manufacturer ahead of the German. The Doctor with the good old switcheroo as Piero gets the move done down the inside of Wolfie in the background, but these two putting up a really nice battle in the opening couple of laps as Born Evil continues to lead the field away as they make their way through turn 5. Natty purple to the third sector actually, but everyone's purple to the third sector as it's currently lap 2. Born Evil play Dutchy in Toussaint at the current top 3 after nearly 3 laps of racing. Tiger Assassin in 4th, then Dan Schneider in 5th. 2 Dans next to each other on the circuit with the Doctor in 7th, Natty in 8th, Piero in 9th, Wolfie in 10th, Aston in 11th, Wiggly Star in 12th, Ted in 13th, Black Country Mush in 14th, going side by side with Cameron Kaboom, the Lexus down the inside of the Mercedes. A little bit of a contact as we've already got one retirement from this race. I believe it's Fett who has pulled the trigger early, and no, that's not for the undercut attempt. We've got a car off at turn 1. It's Dan Schneider going slowly, gets overtaken by the Doctor, the Scout down, Natty now on the inside. Piero might try and follow him through. 2 McLarens making their way up through the grid, and someone's off. That's the Scout down, now down to 9th place after going wide at turn 1. Play Dutchy and Born Evil wide at turn 4. Maybe contact between the 2 drivers, fighting for the lead of the race and fighting for the top spot in the Drivers' Championship. 3 laps into this 40-lap race. It's not one of the longest races on the calendar. In terms of lap time it is, but the lap times aren't particularly long itself. 1 minute 24 is the current fastest lap of the race, and that should get quicker throughout the session as the drivers burn fuel and get off the slow and medium compound tyres for what's likely going to be a 2-stop onto 2 sets of soft compound tyres. The tyre wear not great, but definitely better than it was last week at Sardinia, where we saw host of the first sprint race for the Italian Grand Prix. Wiggly Star in 12th place behind Aston F1 in 11th, fighting for the last points paying position as Piero, making amazing moves throughout the field, was last by turn 2 on the opening lap, and he's already up into 7th place, fighting with Natty. The Doctor not too far ahead of the McLaren driver, and it's a much better showing this week from Tiger and Toussaint. Maybe this track much more suited to their 2 car choices, the Mercedes and the Porsches, 2 German manufacturers for 2 British drivers. Struggled a little bit out in Sardinia with Tiger Assassin not finishing that race. But the field is still really close together. As it looks like, I think that's Black Country Mush. No, not Mush. It's Cameron Kaboom making his way up into 13th place and ahead of Ted, who I think made a mistake down at turn 3. Dutchy already with about a 2-second advantage to Born Evil. Toussaint and Tiger closely behind the Brits, running in 2, 3 and 4. The Doctor making it 4 consecutive British drivers inside the top 5. And Piero getting the move done on Natty means that the Frenchman is now added to the equation in these front-running drivers. But how quickly Piero has been able to slice his way through the field at a track that's not particularly easy to overtake at. The Scout Dan doing a really good job, currently running in 9th place in the Ferrari, as he leads this train of Wolfie, Aston, Wiggly Style, Cameron Kaboom and Ted at the back of it, and in the background you can see the black and red Mercedes of Black Country Mush running in 15th place. Lap 5 of 40 and 8th of the way through this race. Toussaint going a little bit narrow and tight to the inside of the apex of turn 2. But it seems to be working well for him. Tiger Assassin keeping up with the back of his teammate, as our closest battle out on the circuit at the minute is probably this 3-way fight for second place, as Play Duchy has started to gap cars behind him, maybe 3-4 seconds now between him and the car behind. A beautiful camera shot as the cars make their way through Hawthorne Bend, turn number 5 out of the only 9 corners at this circuit. But interestingly, the Doctors actually opted to start on the quicker red striped soft compound tyres. You can see that by the RS indicated in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. Nearly runs wide onto the grass, and an easy mistake, an easy error to make at this circuit. This track is definitely one for driver mistakes. Wolfie and Dan now going side by side through the penultimate corner, turn 8, which leads into turn 9, the final corner in the background. I think that's Cameron Kaboom and Wiggly Style battling out for 12th place, but Wolfie's gone a little bit wide, and Dan cuts inside. The good old switcheroo, the Coca-Cola Ferrari side by side with its Italian manufacturer in the Alfa Romeo. Down to the inside, contact between the two. Wolfie's forced off to the gravel. Whether lag was involved in this incident, I'm not too sure. Maybe that will have to be looked at by the stewards, although at the time of recording it is too late to submit any claims. So that's Wolfie down to 14th place, and Dan also down to 12th place. Wiggly and Cameron Kaboom, Aston F1 as well, they all made their way through after the incident down at turn 1. I think it looked like Dan turned in too early and then opened the steering, but kind of opened the steering awkwardly at the apex of the corner. We'll have to get another look at that maybe at the end of the race. But now Aston's under pressure from Cameron Kaboom. He's trying to make his way back through the field after the lap 1 incident. Not at this corner, but the next one here. Cameron now with the inside line. Can he make his way up to P9? On lap 6, it's going to be tough because Aston's not going to give this one up. Tries to switch back but doesn't have the power in the 4GT. Never thought I'd be saying that, to get ahead of the Lexus. He's now going to be under pressure from Wiggly Style, who's closed that gap and riding on board with the Toyota. Look at the straight line speed the Japanese car has, but Aston parking his car in the middle of the circuit. The circuit not wide enough at this part of the track for Wiggly Style to find a way through. Means that Aston's able to live to fight another day. How many more days he has left to survive, not too sure, because Swiss driver Wiggly Style is certainly trying to get a move on through the field. He's currently getting 1 point if he finishes in 11. I think he wants more than 1. He's looking for another one, as Dan's now trying to go for a move down the inside. 2 Saint ahead of Bon Evil after a mistake from the Brit, running wide down at turn 4. So change of position for the podium. Dutchy still leads. But he's got 2 Saint now behind him, One even in 3rd and Tiger in 4th. Let's see what the Season 1 and Season 6 champion can say about that gap to the Flying Dutchman in front. Tiger Assassin in the Porsche putting the Alfa Romeo on even under a lot of pressure through the middle sector. I'm calling it the middle sector whether you like it or not. There are 5 circuits at this, 5 sectors at this circuit, but I'm going to say 3. 1 and 2 is sector 1, 3 and 4. And 5 is sector 2, and the final sector, sector 5 is sector 3. No, so yeah, so 1 and 2 sector 1, 3 and 4 is sector 2, and 5 is sector 3. That's what I'm going to be referring to throughout this stream, in case anyone gets confused with me calling different sectors incorrectly. I'm sorry, but I'm not calling it a track that's 1 minute and 23 seconds long. 5 sectors. It just doesn't feel right. Wolfie, after his incident a lap earlier, trying to catch back up to the back of his Irish teammate, as Dutchy extending his advantage as the drivers begin to battle behind. Bon Evil going through turn 4 ahead of Tiger Assassin. The Doctor actually on the soft compound tyres, catching up to the 3 Brits in front of him. This is going to be a struggle for Tiger Assassin to try and get ahead of Bon Evil. He's got to do it through a corner, and this one's probably going to be the least likely of them if he wants to make a move stick. The Porsche and the Alfa Romeo are 2 very different cars in pretty much every single way. One has a good top end speed, one has nice downforce and good cornering through the corners. So Tiger Assassin just has to do his best to keep as close to the back of that Alfa Romeo as he can before trying to go for a move. Bon Evil thinking about something down the inside towards the first corner, but thinking better of it. The Doctor with about 50% wear on his front left tyre, staying out since they start lap 9 of 40 in this race. Piero, after being last at turn 2, is now up into 6th place and about a second behind the Doctor as they all make their way through the first corner. Hello Wolfie in the chat as Natty ahead of Dan Schneider, the top 8. Well, I say the top 8. The top 8 minus the race leader, all still really close together. You can see on the mini-map in the top right how they're all on this back straight, being led by a 2-time GT champion at the head of this train. Bonnie in third, keeping Tiger at bay, looking to try maybe turn this into an attack down at turn 5, but not on this occasion. You can see the two, 3 cars that are slowly catching back up. Natty's conceded the position to Dan Schneider, so maybe a mistake from the Brit or a nice move from the Dutch from behind. As Cameron Caboon trying to make his way back up through the field after the incident at turn 6, sorry. Aston ahead of Dan. Wolfie now up into 12th place. Not sure what's happened there, whether there's just incredible pace from Wolfie, but Black Country Mush has got ahead of Wiggly Star. Wiggly Star's actually made his first pit stop onto a fresh set of the soft compound tyres, and Ted's also in to the medium compound tyres. So early pit stops after 9 laps of racing. All the guys on the mediums deciding to stay out, including the Doctor, who is on the quicker soft tyres, getting a little bit slidey on the exit of turn 2. This BWT Mercedes. The fun fact of the day, the top 8 all have red, white and blue in their flags of their respective nationalities. As Dutchy, after 10 laps of racing, has a nice sizable advantage of about 6 seconds to play to Toussaint behind, who's under a lot of pressure from quite a few cars. And well, they're not just any cars. One of them is Bon Evil, one of them is Tiger Assassin. We've got the Doctor up here on the soft compound tyres, Piero, Dan Schneider and Natty hot approaching on the scene. It's not going to be an easy defence, and we could have a nice battle on our hand between all these cars, but the Doctor's gone to cut some grass on the exit of the final corner. Rejoins ahead of Dan Schneider, who's going to go on through. Where will Natty filter in this? Can he get ahead of the Doctor down towards turn 1? Not on this occasion, but the Doctor's tyres are going to be dirty. A little bit of contact as Natty gives the back of the Doctor a little bit of a nudge. Probably wasn't expecting the overspeed through turn 1, but with the grip on the medium compound tyres against the worn and dirty soft compound tyres, McLaren gets ahead of the Mercedes, and now he has to, well, he's got to keep the Doctor behind whilst he's on those soft compound tyres. The Doctor's not going to want that though. He's going to want to get a move on with the soft compound tyre advantage over all the drivers in front of him who are on the mediums. I think the gap's just opened up a little bit between Dan Schneider and Piero. The Frenchman really doing a good job of closing down that gap to Tiger. Looks like there's not a lot of grip left on those soft compound tyres equipped on the Mercedes. I think you might see the Doctor in the pits at the end of this lap or the next. Has done a good job to obtain the fastest lap so far, a 1 minute 23.4. We'll get an extra point at the end of the race for fastest lap if he can keep it by the end of lap 40. And let's just keep an eye on and see if the Doctor's into the pits this lap. I think he is. Over the white line he goes and into the pit. So the first pit stop out of the top 8 from the soft compound tyre runners. Wolfie up into 12th place behind Aston and Dan, the 2 teammates running closely together in this race. Black Country Mush has not yet made a pit stop as of yet, and at the head of Wiggly Style and Ted, who have both made their first stops in this race. Sun starting to hide behind some clouds at the upper end of the track, down in towards the middle sector, turn 5 and turn 6, looking a little bit overcast compared to the opening of the corners. But cannot rain out this circuit, so there's no threat of weather getting involved in this race. Toussaint running a special livery on his Mercedes for his home Grand Prix. Bon Evil behind also with a special one-off livery on the Alfa Romeo. Running in third place in this race, currently leading the championship over the current race winner. Once again looking at the inside, but thinking better of it before going through the final corner. Toussaint defends the inside, parks his car in the middle of the circuit to make it more awkward for Bon Evil to try and pick a way through, left or right. It's not going to be easy. Toussaint back over to the inside, defensive at turn 2. Bon Evil's going to try and swoop something around the outside, but the wider line means he's going to be tied through on the exit and gets a good run down towards turn 3, side by side. Bon Evil on the inside, a little bit out of shape on the exit for good measures. But Toussaint holds off the attack on lap 13. But now they have the longest straight at the circuit to go, in between turn 4 and turn 5. Up the hill they go before breaking down to 4th or 3rd gear. Bon Evil with the inside line sliding his way through turn 5. Seems to get alongside the Mercedes, but then the car gets all sorts of out of shape as Pierre is now caught up to the back of the Porsche driven by Tiger Assassin. And just a reminder, he was off in the gravel at turn 2 after contact with Cameron Kaboom. And now he's back up fighting with the leaders once more. Pierre in 5th, Dan Schneider in 6th. Natty's just dropping off the back of the Porsche. No, still behind the Porsche of Dan Schneider on the medium compound tyres. Looks like the tyre wear on the Porsche is a little bit worse than that of the McLaren. Bon Evil onto the gravel at the exit of turn 1, lucky not to be sideways, and waving hello to the marshal located on the barrier on the exit of the first corner, but lives to fight another day. Tucked up close behind the back of the Mercedes is Toussaint's teammate, just dropping off a little bit behind Bon Evil. The gap's opened up to about maybe 9/10 or a second, and is under pressure from a rapid man in the McLaren. Back up to the battle for second place. Toussaint defensive to the inside, but moves his car over to the right hand side of the circuit. And these guys, it might not look like they're fighting a lot, but they're certainly losing time to Play Dutchy, who's already making his way through the penultimate corner, turn 8, going through the penalty gate now. As well, you can see the lap time. Dutchy's about 1 minute 14 and 15, 16 compared to 6, 7, 8 to Toussaint. About 10 seconds separating first and second place after 14 laps of racing. So Dutchy lapping about 8/10 quicker than the cars behind him every lap, although defending the inside line into all the good overtaking opportunities. It might not be the fastest for Toussaint, but it's keeping Bon Evil behind, and I think he's realised that's where his race is at. Then they're not going to beat Dutchy tonight on another level in the Porsche, setting consecutive low 1 minute 24s. These guys are ranging from low 24s to high 24s. Lap 13 at 25.5. That's how close and competitively these guys are fighting for these spots on the podium in the early rounds of the championship. Dan Schneider's caught up to the back of Piero. BWT Porsche now making it a 5-way fight for second place. Natty on the same straight of these guys, not too far behind either. Cameron Kaboom with a 5/10 penalty, picked up somewhere within the first 2 sectors. We'll have to serve that in the run down towards turn 9. The Doctor opting for a set of medium compound tyres fitted at the end of lap 11. Comes out ahead of Dan, who hasn't fitted yet, nor has Wolfie, but did go off with the car in front of him down at the first corner. Let's see if he can repay the favour. I don't mean he's going to take out the Scout Dan, but let's see if he can get in front and pull away. speaking of, Play Dutchy going through turn 1 as the cars behind make their way through the final corner, and a beautiful camera shot showing cars drivers in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place, all going down the start finish straight in towards the first corner. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the Twitch if you have Prime. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, Gavra Racing. You can find it on YouTube. Let's go back up to the leaders. Bon Evil a little bit wide through turn 4. That's going to cost him time to Toussaint and the car behind, Tiger Assassin, who will probably want to be behind his teammate as quickly as possible to put him, make his life a little bit more comfortable without Bon Evil threatening in 3rd place. Although the wear on the left-hand side of that Alfa Romeo starting to look quite excessive on those medium tyres compared to Toussaint in the Mercedes, who's only running about 50% tyre wear. Same with Tiger Assassin, about 60% to the rear left. So I think we're going to see Bon Evil maybe forced into an undercut as Play Dutchy's into the pits from the lead of the race. Still had a little bit of life left on those medium compound tyres, but wants to get on those softs as quickly as possible. Toussaint stays out, Bon Evil also stays out, maybe has a target lap in mind. Play Dutchy in and out of the pits, splash and dash for tyres, and he's onto a set of the soft compound tyres, back in the lead of the race. Two McLarens also into the pits, Piero into the pits, Natty putting in a little bit of fuel as he comes out in 7th place. This could be close with the Doctor coming out onto the circuit into 7th place, just ahead of the BWT Mercedes, who goes wide onto the gravel at turn 1. So Piero, Natty, the Doctor, Play Dutchy, the leaders, the front runners who have made the first pit stops in this race. Bear in mind, we've got Wiggly Star and Ted, who have also made their first pit stops. Dan and Wolfie in and out of the pit, down with a 3-second time penalty for crossing the white line, either an entrance or exit from those Black Country Mush up in 12th place, and Wiggly, Cameron Kaboom in 10th and 11th respectively. Now we're going to see any drivers pitting this lap reacting to the undercut attempt from Piero, who pitted at the end of lap 16 to try and run quicker on these soft compound tyres. Toussaint, Bonnie, Tiger, 2nd, 3rd and 4th all peel into the pits. Dan Schneider stays out for another lap on those very worn medium compound tyres, but tyres go on. I don't think we're going to see anyone fuel up in this stint. Here comes Piero down the start finish straight. This could be close, and he's ahead of Toussaint. He's ahead of Tiger. He's ahead of Bon Evil, up into 3rd place with a beautifully executed undercut attempt. Bon Evil's been jumped by Tiger Assassin as the Alfa Romeo is putting a little bit of fuel. Whether he put in a little bit more fuel or not, he's got more fuel than the car in front. So it's now Tiger in 5th behind his teammate. I think we had a car from the back. No, we didn't have a car from the back. That's just someone's name tag going through turn 3. But it's a Dutch 1-2 in this race. As Play Dutchy's made his pit stop, leads this race. But Dan Schneider yet to pit. Inherits 2nd place for now. Piero purple to the 3rd sector. Ahead of Toussaint and Tiger Assassin in 4th and 5th place. Bon Evil dropping off the back of the Porsche just a little bit as he struggles to get the soft compound tyres up to a little bit of temperature. It has to be said, Natty and the Doctor aren't too far behind. The battle for 3rd place, maybe they might be a factor towards the end of this race. We've still got a long way to go in this race. 25 minutes in, 19 laps as Dan Schneider pulls into the pits. We might have thought about the one-stop attempt, could even go into a set of the hards. We'll have to wait and see. I highly doubt it. Fuel goes into the front of the Porsche, and I reckon it'll be for the soft compound tyres for a splash and dash at the end. Indeed, it's the red striped soft compound tyres, and comes out in 9th place, 8th place ahead of Cam Kaboom. And you can see the BWT Mercedes of the Doctor running just in front of him, making his way through the 1st sector. Natty's last lap, only 0.3 slower than that of Dutchy's. He's lapping quicker than the cars in front. Toussaint with a 126, 125, 126, 123 for the McLaren. Are we about to see a reborn ex-Natty G on the soft compound tyres? There's still 22 laps of racing to go. Plenty of time for him to put himself in the mix to maybe a top 5 or a podium contention. As Piero now up into second place is putting a gap to the Mercedes behind him. That McLaren really really working well for Piero at the circuit. Lap 1 was running in 13th place. He's now gained 11 positions since. And on lap 20, the halfway stage of the race, runs in second place position. Toussaint's chance of a podium is under pressure from his teammates and current championship leader Bon Evil, who runs wide on the exit of turn 2. There's actually the two German manufacturers in front of him running a little bit wide onto the AstroTurf. Natty gaining on these guys as well. It's another 1 minute 23 for Natty, matching now the cars in front of him on lap 19. 23s across the board for the front runners. Piero with a 122.7, a tenth faster than Play Dutch, who's a tenth and a half up on Piero's fastest lap. So the fastest lap's been thrown around left, right and centre. 1 minute was the Doctor, now Piero. What about Play Dutch? What does he have to offer in this fastest lap competition? Up to the line, it's a 1 minute 22.5, 2 tenths quicker than Piero's last lap, and is Dutchy on course to claim a maximum points from this race at Brands Hatch. Let's have a look to see if Piero can beat that fastest lap attempt. On lap 20, misses out by 2 tenths of a second, running in second place. Bon Evil now on the inside of Tiger Assassin, makes contact with the Porsche, who's off into the gravel down at Paddock Hill Bend. And I'm sure that will be looked at by the stewards. Indeed, it was looked at by the stewards. I don't know how to say this, but without trying to, to kill the moment between the contact between the drivers, a really difficult incident to judge. Bon Evil on his screen didn't make contact with the Porsche, but on Tiger's screen there was quite a bit of contact, as you saw in my version of the race replay, which is how unstable the servers are. Just as a note, for any of the drivers who did make a claim or were involved in an accident, if you've been involved in an accident recently and it wasn't your fault, well, I'm not a scammer, don't worry. But yeah, just for any drivers who were involved in an accident, the claims, well, the majority of them, I think all of them, have now been dismissed. No action will be taken, unfortunately, due to the unstable servers. Whereas there was contact on someone's screen, there was not contact on the other person's screen, which made it really difficult and unfair to award penalties for no contact, essentially. As you can see there, Toussaint going off at turn 1. Someone's off at the first corner. I believe it's Ted MC, who's made a mistake somewhere and nearly spins the car when rejoining the track. Bon Evil, though, putting Toussaint under pressure for the final spot on the podium. Natty now has Tiger Assassin in his sights after that turn 1 incident, but unfortunately for Tiger, unfortunately for Tiger, who's gone off? Who's off into the gravel? Down on the exit of turn 3, Natty goes through up into 5th place, and a mistake from Tiger Assassin. Maybe still had some dirt left on his tyres after a trip to the gravel at the first corner. A mistake, a rare mistake from Tiger Assassin, who now drops down to 6th place and has Natty in front of him, who he now has to defend from the Porsche. A couple of laps to go, it was the McLaren hunting the top 5. Now he's in the top 5 and has to defend from one of them. But going back to the Tiger and Bonnie incident you saw at turn 1, you might say it's clearly Bonnie's fault. There was contact, clear contact, between the Alfa Romeo and the Porsche, but then you take 2 steps back and you look at Bonnie Evil's POV, and you're like, actually, there was no contact made. It's just the lag and the servers, the unstable servers, that caused the accident, which is why and thought it'd be unfair to penalise Bonnyville after the counterclaims were made with new evidence and their respective POVs. Hopefully the update bringing the SF23, the Super Formula, not the Ferrari, will bring in some stability to the new servers. I was tempted to do it like Palpatine in Episode 3 for those who have seen Star Wars. No, not stability. Oh, it wasn't even Palpatine who said that. That was Anakin in his confrontation with Obi-Wan. Let's gloss over that. Stability. Bonnyville purple to the second sector behind Toussaint, running in 4th place in this race after claiming maximum points from the sprint and the feature race last time out in Sardinia. Toussaint running a little bit wide, kicking up some gravel. Bonnyville now going down the inside in towards turn 7 and gets the move down up into 3rd place, runs a little bit wide, but just dips the wheel into the grass and manages to survive. Natty staying ahead of Tiger Assassin, maybe about a second or two separating those two guys, with Dan Schneider on the charge through the field. Viewers watching the stream live, please let me know if my mic audio is still doing okay. As a bit of lag going through the first corner, Toussaint appeared to have just gone straight on, but the indeed, there was quite a bit of lag actually between these two. So they make their way through the second corner. In the battle for 3rd place. Credit to all the drivers for working with the lag. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. I'm not really too keen on postponing another season after the servers were completely broken towards the end of last season during the Christmas period. I don't think a lot of drivers will be happy if they have to wait any longer. I mean, the season was supposed to be starting around February, March. It's round 3 and we're at the end of April. Bonnyville having to defend from Toussaint behind him. Lap 24 of 40 has gone wide, and that allows Toussaint to go for a move into 3rd place. A couple of mistakes forcing these overtakes, but you've got to capitalise on driver errors. The two now side by side down the hill in towards the final corner. Clark curve, turn 9. 4 going down the start-finish straight in towards turn 1. They finished lap 24 to start lap 25. 15 laps to go. Toussaint defensive in towards the first corner. Bonnyville taking a wider line, cutting inside before going for a move down the inside in towards turn 2, sorry. Bonnyville with the inside line, using all the curb available to him on the outside. Toussaint moving his way back over to the racing line as Bonnyville's gone off onto the grass. Whether there was contact or not from the aerial shot, it was unclear. Did Toussaint leave Bonnyville enough room on the entrance, for turn 3? And another incident that was investigated by the stewards. But that's now left Bonnyville vulnerable to Natty in 5th place. Can Natty find himself running in the top 4? Bonny's defensive, going up the hill in towards turn 5 with the outside. Natty cuts back, a good old switcheroo to the inside as they make their way now down into turn 6. Natty up into 4th place in the McLaren, ahead of Bonnyville, whose championship lead is decreasing by the second. Was running in the lead of this race before Dutchy took over, and it's dropped from 2nd to 5th. An incident with Toussaint is now weaving down the back straight in towards turn 9. Whether he's frustrated with the incident with Toussaint or if he's just trying to get the dirt off his tyres, I'm not sure. But that's now Natty up into 4th, Bonnie in 5th, and Tiger closing in on these guys in 6th place. And Bonnie will look to try and send one down the inside. Contact hits the rear right tyre of the McLaren, lifts off the throttle to let him go back through, but that's going to allow Tiger Assassin now to go down the inside. Bonnie will wide once again in towards turn 3. He's going to be vulnerable to Dan Schneider, who's dropping through the field like a rock in a pond. Dan Schneider now to the inside. Bonnie's left the door wide open, and now he gets up into 6th place. The Alfa Romeo's best overtaking opportunity down in towards either turn 1 or turn 5 with the straight line speed advantage. Running with the hazards on, defending clear air, going through turn 5. And he's dropped off a lot from the back of Dan Schneider already. So now Natty leads this train, consisting of Tiger, Dan and Von Evil, now down in 7th place. 26 of 40, we're nearing the pit stop phase for the second soft compound tyre. Toussaint lagged to Silverstone and back through as he makes his way through turn 9, with Piero in front of him in 2nd place, going approaching turn 2 with Duchy already through turn 2 in towards turn 4. Pretty much a sector ahead of the car behind. Closest battle right on the circuit is between Natty and Tiger, as Natty's left the door wide open. He's gone deep, he's gone wide through turn 2, and that's allowed Tiger to say thank you very much and slips one up the inside. The door was left wide open. I think the door was even knocked down on the inside of turn 2. That's Natty down to 5th place, but remains ahead of Dan Schneider for now. Let's have a look through the field as Cameron Booms and drifting his way through turn 3, sliding through Graham Hill Bend as he hunts down the Doctor in 8th place. Aston in 10th ahead of Wolfie in 11th. The Irishman taking the last point available as things stand. And he's got Willie Starr and Dan not too far behind him. Black Country Mush running in 14th place. Natty having to defend from Dan Schneider under a lot of pressure from the Dutchman in the Porsche. These guys are in trouble because Dan put in fuel in his first stop. He's already caught up to the back of these guys. Not only is he caught up to the back of them, but he's side by side with the McLaren. Doesn't look like Natty wanting to fight that one too much as Dan Schneider goes through up into 5th place. Defensive in towards turn 3, and then Natty trying to find something ridiculous to the outside. You need a banked corner and a Mario Kart barrier wrapped in bubble wrap to break that late and go around the outside of someone down at turn 2. Maybe a lapse in concentration, trying to fight too hard with the Porsche. Drops in about a second behind Dan Schneider running in 5th place with more fuel than the cars around him, possibly even going to the end of the race from here. Dan Schneider's in a good position. I completely lost my train of thought. As Play Dutchy, he's off the track into the pits. I tried to make them link, but it didn't quite work. Will Piero follow him in? The fuel light on, indicating about less than 2 laps of fuel. Does come into the pits. What about Toussaint? Also into the pits. The top 3 into the pits. Dutchy's already left the pits before Toussaint's even been serviced. All with 9 litres of fuel. Tiger's into the pits. Dan Schneider stays out. Natty also into the pits in the McLaren. Bon Evil also following him into the pits. Everyone's coming into the pits. Natty with 13 litres of fuel. He's got the advantage to the cars around him to put in slightly less fuel and stay stationary for less. Toussaint out of the track in 4th place behind Piero. Dan Schneider. This is going to be interesting because Dan Schneider, when he makes his final pit stop, doesn't need to put in a litre of fuel. He might need to put in 1 litre, maybe 2, but not that much. Actually, let's have a look at between him and Dutchy. Him and Dutchy basically have the same amount of fuel, same with Piero. So yeah, Dan Schneider doesn't need to put any fuel. He fueled up in the first stint and then already caught up to the back of Natty and Tiger. He went nose to tail, front bumper to rear wing. With 12 laps to go. Tiger's wide on the exit of turn 6. Could leave him under a lot of pressure from car behind. The driver who's won A lot of teams championships. Ahead of a driver who's won no teams championships but has a few drivers titles to his name. As Dan Schneider's in and out of the pits and he's up into third place behind Piero and ahead of Toussaint. What a beautifully executed strategy from the Dutchman. Realising that Toussaint, Tiger, Bonnie, Natty were all going to be fighting in the second stint, losing time to one another. So, you know, being the wise Dan Schneider, putting in the fuel in the first stint, getting out of that battle and now rejoining it at the end of the race. Under pressure though from Toussaint, he ran a little bit wide through turn 4. Defensive in towards the uphill right-hander of turn 5 and maintains ahead of Toussaint for now. Here goes the Brit trying to launch one to the inside, and indeed he does. A beautiful move from Toussaint, but Dan Schneider's got the traction, he's got the run on the exit of the corner, makes a little bit of contact with the Mercedes and back up into third place with a beautiful move to the inside down towards turn 7. It's not often you see moves done at that corner, but Dan Schneider's got it done and up into third place. Here on lap 30 out of 40, 75% of the way through this race, and we've got 2 battles on our hand, one for third, one for fifth. So Cam could boom up into 7th ahead of Bonnie and the Doctor running in 9th place on those soft compound tyres, ahead of Wiggly in 10th, with Aston in 11th, being chased down by Wolfie in 12th, Black Country Mush now in 13th, being shown the blue flags to the front runners. So you can see there Piero is the next car to pass Black Country. Dan and Toussaint running in 3rd and 4th respectively. Not much separating Natty and Tiger either. Let's ride on board with the rear wing of the Porsche to see if that McLaren can close down the Porsche down the straights. The lights are beginning to flash as they make their way to the apex of turn 5. McLaren seems to be a little bit quicker through the corners. Maybe it's just Natty pushing to just keep up, but Tiger's gone wide onto the gravel. You can see the McLaren getting closer by the second, but there's just no room, no way through for Natty. Tiger doing a good job to keep him behind, despite that's the second mistake actually in 2 laps down on the exit of turn 6. Tiger maybe feeling the pressure, struggling to keep up the pace to keep that McLaren behind as the newly painted red, black and blue McLaren with a good run through the final corner, but can't find a way through in towards turn 1. Has a little look to the inside. Cam kabooms into the pits from 8th place on the grid. Gets overtaken by the Doctor. As Toussaint still keeping up with Dan Schneider. Piero at the end of the straight, the lap car's Black Country in front of them. But what can Natty do? Closing in on the back of the Porsche. These two have been separated by a couple of tenths since they made their second pit stop. But meanwhile, Play Dutchy, he's been on form this week. There's no denying that. A mistake in the strategy last week, continuing to go purple. Here on lap 33, despite the slight wear to the soft compound tyres after pitting about 6-7 laps ago, continues to go 2 tenths quicker than he, well, Pierre is also going purple actually to Play Dutchy's time, so this could be interesting to see who could claim that fastest lap. I think we're at that stage where the tyre wear, well, the tyres still feel good and the fuel is starting to go down. Dan Schneider purple, is anyone else going to go purple through the second sector? Tiger's purple, Matty might as well be purple as well. Everyone improving a lot in the final third of this race. have a look. Can Playduchy? He's lost time in the middle sector to himself. Wait and see what Piero and Dan Schneider can say about that fastest lap. Meanwhile, Tiger and Natty continue to be the two closest drivers out on the circuit. Tiger going purple to the third sector. And, well, if he's going purple, he's bringing Natty along with him. New Zealand McLaren up against the BCR Porsche. What lap time can Piero do? It's a 23.4. Not good enough for the fastest lap. Dutchy wasn't quicker than himself either. 22.5 is the first lap. 23.1 for Dan Schneider. So it looks like Dutchy might have had a really bad first sector on his fastest lap. Tiger Assassin, though, improving on his personal best. Consecutive 1 minute 23s for these guys running in 5th and 6th place, and Toussaint Dan Schneider in 3rd and 4th, also consistently in the 30s, in the 23s. Gap's opened up a little bit between Tiger and Natty. It's about 0.8 of a second here on lap 34 of 40 here at Brands Hatch, round number 3 of the Gavra Racing GT7 Championship Season 7. Bonneville leading the championship but down in 7th place as his closest championship contender Playduchy leads this race after starting on pole position. He's led every single lap apart from the opening few where the Porsche's slow getaway off the line dropped him down a couple of positions, but he's got the fastest lap to his name as well. All is looking safe and secure for the Dutchman. No Brits currently in the top 3 for their home Grand Prix, but we've got 5 of them running from 4th down to 8th. Cameron Kaboom and Aston running in 10th and 11th place, with Wolfie putting Aston under pressure for the last points paying position, running in 12th place ahead of Black Country Mush. Well, that gap has opened up between Dan and Toussaint. So Natty's closed down that gap to the car in front, right on board in the cockpit of the McLaren as they make their way down the back straight. Tiger Assassin in his sights, making their way to the 4th sector now. Well, I am a huge fan of these camera angles. Oh, the big moment for Natty is a huge slide on the exit of turn 7. That's going to cost him time. You can see the gaps opened up quite a little bit now between these two cars, but brilliantly held. Was at one point facing the wall inside the cockpit. Whether there's an award for save of the day, not too sure. But Dan Schneider doing well to maintain a somewhat comfortable margin to the car behind. Toussaint, one of the most successful drivers on the grid, with the 2 drivers' championships in season 1 and season 6, and a couple of teams' championships along the way, season 2, 3, and 4. Interestingly, hasn't won 2 championships in the same season. Season 5 for him was a bit of a drought, as the 2 victories in that season, Playduchy and Piero. Playduchy obviously kind of rather the opposite of Toussaint when it comes to Gavra racing in Gran Turismo. Dutchy with drivers' championships in season 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1 team's championship and season 6. but they won the championship in season. No, they actually did win season 6. They actually won teams drivers championships in season 2, 3, 4, and 5. The drivers and the constructors in 5, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, the opposite of what Toussaint has basically. The only 2 drivers to be involved in a championship every season, I think. Kind of similar to how you could say Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel have been. You know, they've won everything, or they've won a championship between 2010 and 2021, whether it be a team championship, a constructors championship, or drivers championship. Those 2 have won something every season between them, which is quite an incredible stat actually. When you come to think about it, Toussaint probably the most experienced driver on the grid, having raced in him and Tiger Saturn having raced in every single, well, pretty much every single race. Was there in season 1. I don't count. I hosted and commentated the lobbies, although that does mean I make an appearance. So I think I put myself up there. In terms of driving, no. My second season, I've got no idea what season everyone else is on. Bon Evil weaving down in towards turn 9. Maybe was a little bit unhappy with Black Country not getting out of the way sooner, possibly. Appeared to have cut him off. In fact, Dan Schneider a little bit wide through turn 3. Gaps begin to open up a few between some of the drivers. The closest battle on track is still Natty and Tiger Assassin, despite the mistakes made by the 2 throughout this race, one being on the exit at turn 3, the other at turn 7. Obviously, you can't forget Tiger's incident with Bon Evil at turn 1. Dan Schneider, he's on the gravel, he's on the wall, damage to the front, to the rear left suspension, the rear bumper, and yellow flags being waved for Tiger and Natty as they make their way through the middle sector. Dan rejoins the circuit from 3rd place now down to 4th, just ahead of Tiger Assassin and ex-Natty G, who are going to want to get past as soon as possible. Dan Schneider's going to have to try and keep them behind with the damage, with the dirty tyres, and probably with a lot of frustration building up inside that helmet. Tiger goes through round the outside at the final corner as they start the penultimate lap of the race in 4th, 5th and 6th place, separated by maybe 1.2 seconds. Looks like Dan's just done enough to stay ahead of Natty, but he's lost the position to Tiger as they go through turn 1 for the penultimate time this race. 39 laps later, and it's built up to this 3-way fight for 4th place. Toussaint now promoted up into a podium position after the mistake made by the Dutchman behind as they go through turn 3, and Dan's off again, straight off into the barrier, right by a marshal's post, the green flag being waved for some reason, but a disaster for Dan Schneider. Was in comfortable form, set for a podium perhaps, but he's now dropped to 7th place after 2 mistakes, one at turn 6 and one at turn 3. It's not the first driver we've seen go off at either of those 2 corners, but for him it's come at such a costly part of the race, now side by side with Black Country Mush, who is a lap down. And that reignites this battle for 4th place between only 2 drivers. One who's won constructors titles, one who's won drivers titles. Tiger defensive into the final corner. Play Dutchy starts the final lap of the race. Lap 40 of 40. It's all built up to this 360 corners later in this battle for 4th place. Where is Dutch on the track? He makes his way through sector 4 now, with Piero just about completing the 2nd sector. Let's quickly filter back down to the battle for 4th place. Can Natty find a way ahead of Tiger? He's been stuck behind him since they've been together on lap 27, round about the pit stop phase. But Natty's gone wide to try and get a good run down the back straight. This might be his best opportunity. We're going to cut back to Play Dutchy quickly though. because Dutchy, while he started on pole, he's nearly led every single lap. Fastest lap as well. He wins the British Grand Prix, and Pierre, with an amazing comeback drive, will finish in second place after being in 13th on the exit of turn 2. Pierre rounds the final corner with Toussaint about 10 seconds behind him. Natty all over the back of Tiger Assassin through the final sector. Tiger defensive through turn 8. Natty's late on the brakes, trying to work it round the outside. Pierre crosses the line in second. Toussaint crosses the line in third. What about this battle though? Tiger doesn't defend the inside. Natty doesn't choose to send one. He's going to try and get a good run down the start-finish straight as Toussaint finishes in third place. Who's going to finish in fourth? Natty's flashing his lights, but Tiger finishes fourth and Natty fifth. A brilliant showdown between those two for the past 14, 16 odd laps. Disappointing day at the office for Bonnie, who slows down before taking the checkered flag in sixth. Dan Schneider will come across the line in 7th place after what could have been a 3rd place finish for him. Cameron Caboon will finish this race with a 5/10th penalty that will be upgraded to a full second after completely emptying the fuel tank as well. With his style, it's been a quiet race for the Swedish driver, who's actually just going to come across the line in 9th place ahead of the Doctor in 10th, Ashton in 11th and Wolfie in 12th, before Black Country Mush finishes in 13th place. Let's get a nice picture of our race winner. And actually a shout out to all the liveries. We'll go from the back of the grid. Have we got any special liveries at the back? What should we do? But there we go. Let's try and make this as cinematic as possible. So what an amazing race. Plenty of action throughout the field. The first special livery does appear sooner rather than later. There it is. One special livery on the McLaren, one special livery on the Mercedes, and another one on the Alfa Romeo, which will be the next car to show on your screen. But this car is the one that took pole, led every single lap apart from the first two. Got on the fastest lap as well. A grand slam for Play Dutchy. Maximum points awarded for him. His comeback in this championship fight. What a great race for him, and what a great race overall. Battles throughout the field, as well as a few bits of drama and controversy. Join us next time for round 4, where we are at the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, where wet weather is certainly a possibility. It rained last season. Will it rain again? Find out on Saturday. Until then, I've been XNAG. Hope you have enjoyed. Goodbye.